He hasn't filed any. He hasn't filed any in his capacity as constable. I'd like for this to be looked into. Also, this particular individual has, in my opinion, some very severe financial situations. And I know as a significant taxpayer here in this township, I don't want him. Somebody that can't manage their own household finances, I don't want them making decisions on zoning issues going forward. And that person is Diener. I think he's one of three. I guess there's an alternate, but we don't have time for this kind of business. Financial problems is one thing. I can live with that if you have a blip here or there. But this has been going on, and if I'm correct, and what you guys might find out, and there are no filings, that's just blatant. I don't think we should put up with that. What I have here is just some information. If Matt or Chuck, should I say, you got younger, if you could pass that down. What's there basically is I didn't apply for this, but there's a response from the State Ethics Commission regarding right to know requests, requesting information as far as filings in this capacity as constable. There's no records. Okay. And again, the constable part has nothing to do with you guys. Then there's a copy of a complaint that was filed. This was by a co-constable, another constable. Then you have information from the financial interest form that states who must file when and where. And it talks about the zoning hearing board. So it's very easy reading. I could read it. I can understand it. Then you got 3 pages of the zoning hearing board that talks about the Ethics Act and the statements of financial interest. My concern here is if somebody is not qualified because they're not compliant and they vote at a zoning hearing board meeting, that vote could be challenged. Going forward, going back in time, somebody could challenge that because he don't have the capacity to vote, if I understand it correctly, the way it was explained to me by an attorney. So, and then there's also copies of some delinquencies and liens, IRS, municipal, and state liens. And like I say, that's why we have financial disclosure. I don't think it's right. As a taxpayer, I pay my taxes. You guys, I think, all pay your taxes, and we should all abide by that. And if we can't keep our own house in order, then maybe we should think about resigning for whatever reason. I remember years ago, I had a friend, and I'm going to shut up after a minute, and he would come to me. He was a supervisor over in North Coventry Township. His name will remain anonymous, but he would come to me, Dave, can you loan me some money? I don't want to get my name in the newspaper. Because if I get my name in the newspaper, it's not good. That was back 20 years ago. So he would pay his taxes. He said, my wife handles the money and she don't do a good job. I would loan her money and he would pay his taxes, and he never made the newspaper. So, and he was a public official. But if you're a public official, and the zoning hearing board officer is definitely a public official, I think you should be held to a higher standard. I'm done. If anybody has any questions, I would like a response at some point.
I certainly have a few questions.
Okay,
if you
sure.
don't mind, Mr. President.
No, go ahead.
As looking at your right to know.
It's not my right to know.
Huh?
That's not my right to know.
So it's hearsay.
No, that's a right to know. That was filed by Josh Stouch.
Is Josh here?
He's not here.
So it's hearsay.
It's not, no, that's a right to know request to the state ethics group.
I understand that, but if you didn't request the right to know, why are you questioning what's happening? Because it's hearsay to us. This is not your right to know. I'd like to know.
I'll bring an attorney next time if you want, Steve.
I don't need an attorney. I need you to file for the right to know.
Well, we can do that.
Okay?
It
sounds to me.
Well, you got the answers from, no 2 people have to file the right. That's a public document.
I understand that, but as I'm looking at this, it appears to me that there's a personal issue with Mr. Diener because you don't have anything in here that showed that you filed for the right to know or the state. So how did you, are you Mr. Diener's tax attorney or anything?
I'm friends with Josh. Just crossed my desk.
Is Josh an accountant or a tax attorney? Because
if
the
you're
other
questioning the
problem
right
I
to
have,
know, Steve, I'm not going to get into an argument.
I'm not going to get into an argument. I want to know because I'm finding these attacks to be very personal. And it's getting to be very personal, and I'm getting tired of it.
I'm not attacking
what? Well, you are attacking someone personally from hearsay.
I'm not, it's not hearsay.
It is hearsay.
That's a right to know that came from the State Ethics Commission.
All right, this here, all this is a printed piece of paper stating $71,000 from the United States Internal Revenue. I want to know, if you're not his tax attorney, how did you get his personal state tax records?
Why don't want to print it off the Montgomery County website?
So did you print this off?
No.
No. So again, it's hearsay. Someone gave it to you and it's hearsay.
Steve,
it's a personal
I
attack.
respectfully disagree with you.
Well, I'm not going to disagree because I'm getting tired of the personal attacks when the board's here. And that's what this is, a personal attack.
I've never attacked
you. Do you have an agenda for the personal attack on Keith Diener? I just want to know what your agenda is. You said you don't want to be in the newspaper, but you're going to be now.
That's fine.
What's your personal agenda?
He's a public figure, is he not?
What's your
I
personal
have no
agenda?
personal agenda. I want people to be on this board and on the zoning hearing board that pay their taxes and are compliant. Maybe you should wait until we file the right. I don't want to wait for another month. Okay?
File the right to know, and then we can have this conversation.
I'll see you next
Okay,
month.
because this is hearsay.
But in the meantime, you guys can look into that for your own benefit.
I don't need it for my benefit, because I'm not going off something that's hearsay.
You'll need it a month from now.
Okay, then in a month from now, we will address it.
And then, if there's no filings, I could be wrong, but if there's no filings locally that are held here, Ed could probably tell you real quick right now.
Is there,
Yeah, you requested a right to know last month. You came in and you got your right to know.
I didn't
Okay?
get my right to know.
You didn't get your right to know last month?
That was on something totally different.
Okay,
Totally different, and you know that.
right.
And you know what that was all about, and you don't want to go there, I don't think.
I don't know what it's all about. I
Well, you
want to know
should.
what you're making personal attacks.
I'm not making a personal attack on anybody. All I'm doing is asking for the guy to pay his taxes, okay, file his filings, and I realize this board has nothing to do with his capacity as a constable. So I apologize. I looked at this stuff for the first time today when I saw my blood pressure went through the roof. I put an office building up, I gotta file all kinds of rules and regulations. I expect for the people that are sitting in these seats and the people that you appoint in seats below you to do the same thing.
They're
And I think
certainly not
every
appointed
taxpayer
below
in
us
this
as a zone
township,
here.
Steve, would agree
You're
with
not
me.
a taxpayer of this township.
I'm not.
You're not.
My corporation is.
You are not a resident of this township. Your
I don't have to be a
corporation-
resident. I'm a taxpayer. Do I pay taxes, Jennifer? How much do I pay? 50 grand a year?
That's to school.
About?
Don't know.
About?
You would know more than me.
I have a big interest in this township, more so than you from a financial standpoint.
It seems to me you have a personal interest in
No.
taking out people that had a personal agenda.
Who did I take out?
Well,
Who did I take out?
So far, it looks like you're trying to take out
Well,
Mr. Diener for,
You
on
said
hearsay.
people, agenda. First time I'm in front of you asking for somebody to resign. And now I have a personal agenda?
I think you do.
Well, maybe you think. You have your opinion?
And I'm allowed my opinion,
That's
just
fine,
as you are
Steve.
yours.
That's fine.
all right, fellas, question here.
We're not getting any further on this conversation,
Of
obviously.
course, our listener,
Thank you.
these documents or these legal documents for someone else to present, or does the person that looked these up have to present them?
Well, at this point, given this is just public comment, there's no real restrictions on what can or cannot be presented by the public. So,
Okay.
you know, without looking at the documents, knowing the full history, I can't speak to these documents specifically, but certainly Mr. Fisher could present any document that the board wants to accept. And the board can then do with it as they wish.
I think what we should do,
Let me just, if I can just continue, Steve, if you had financial problems, I'd be asking for your resignation.
Right.
All right? Just so we have that straight. I'm not attacking anybody other than their financial situation and being compliant.
Just
or
because a
not.
person has financial problems doesn't mean what
Like,
they're.
what did I just say?
Right, but if you just said if I had financial
If you have
problems,
financial, yeah, I would want to see that disclosure. Why don't you disclose that?
I disclose everything.
I didn't say you didn't, but if you didn't, I would be questioning you.
Well, I don't know that he did disclose it. because
Well,
you
we're gonna
didn't-
find out.
You didn't put a request.
Well,
to
we're
know.
gonna find out.
Someone else did.
We're
And I
gonna
don't know
find
when
out.
it was dated or anything else.
We're gonna find out. I will make sure my attorney puts a request in tomorrow.
Thank you.
I think for the board's sake, we should take this under Commissioner's comments, read this over, have our solicitor read it over, and advise us if this is a legal document that he can present, or does he have to get the right to know on his own to present, and where we go from there. Is that
Bruce,
fair?
if someone call me on that, that'd be fine. If you need a formal right to know, or maybe we'll get Josh, the person that asked for right to know, come to the next meeting, he can testify.
I don't think Josh is a.
No, he's not, you're right, but he's on the constable
I don't know where
side.
that stands either.
You're right, he is not a taxpayer or a resident in Lowell. You're
So-
correct on that.
So the question is being with our legal counsel, is it permissible for someone else to represent these?
Do you ever have a right to know?
Or does Mr. Fisher have to get the right to know himself and read over these and advise us on these?
In my opinion, certainly Mr. Fisher could present these. He doesn't have to do the right to know himself, but certainly what type of weight or questions the board has about these documents is up to the board. You know, I don't know what type of certifications are with it, or whatnot.
And I gotta,
Yes.
yeah, and I gotta tell you, I know you got this from the ethics committee, and you got it further than we ever did when we had a problem with someone here. They didn't talk to
No.
us. and they don't really do too much.
Well, Bruce, I understand that his financial disclosures do not have to go to Harrisburg to the state ethics, they have to be held here. And that's why I made a point, I saw this for the first time today, okay, and I want to make it a point that, you guys are in charge of the constable part. But he hadn't filed with the constables,
Right.
okay? My suspicions are maybe he hasn't filed, for the zoning hearing board as well. And I have some concerns, because as I understand that document that talks about the zoning hearing board, if you can't take oath, okay, because you're not compliant, that creates a problem with you making a vote, because you're really not eligible to make that vote. And that could disqualify that zoning hearing board meeting, possibly. I'm not sure, I'm asking the question. It's not a personal attack on anybody, but if I see somebody that's in a public office, look at the attacks that are going on in our national politics. This is nothing. This is nothing. This is a simple question, take a look at the guy's financial situation, look at his compliance situation, and he either should be here or he should be here. You guys make the decision. I'm just bringing it to your attention. And if you're gonna scold me for that, then I apologize.
As far as the federal taxes, that's out of the hands of the local Pottsgrove commissioners. However, saying that, there are places that if you owe federal taxes, you can pay it in installments. We don't know if he's doing that or not.
I understand that. I fully understand that. But what
We
I'm,
don't know if the government makes mistakes also sometimes too, so we have to look into
I
this.
understand.
And
Thank
am
you.
I correct in saying that we can't control federal tax?
I'm not asking you to control the taxes.
You're-
I'm just saying,
your
it's a
point is-
character issue.
Your point is if they can't.
Let me ask you a question, and I'm not making any allegations, but desperate people do desperate things, don't they? That's all I'm gonna say. And you got somebody on a zoning hearing board making decisions, desperate people can do desperate things if they need money. That's all I'm saying. I'm not making any accusation, I'm making a statement.
And I'll say too, just so we're on the same page, not to stifle the conversation, but certainly the board is entitled to review these documents and take it under consideration. It doesn't necessarily have to respond.
And one last comment.
We're not gonna respond right now, but.
No, I'm not looking for you to do that, and I apologize for blindsiding you guys if I did. That was not my intention, okay? But my intention was, there's something that just doesn't smell right here, and I'd like to see it come to a head sooner than later, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce and board.
Anything else from the commissioners on that subject?
I'm gonna continue on one thing here as I'm reading this. So the response was from the State Ethics Commission, right to know, a copy of the ethics complaint to the Ethics Commission, a copy of the statement of financial interest from indicating who must file when and where, 3 pages of the zoning hearing board planning series of specific interest and concern, and statements of, and copies of federal, state, and municipal liens which are open. If this is a response to the State Ethics Committee, which is what it certainly seems to be, aren't they the ones supposed to be making a judgment and not us?
They did make a judgment, Steve. They made a judgment that they had no records. The rest of that information is just information for you to know what the laws are.
And not to bring out dirty wash again, but when Mr. Watson did this, we talked to the ethics committee. And the ethics committee is the one that has to ask them to resign, the board of commissioners can't. So I gotta read this over again, ask our lawyers if the township itself can really do that, or if the ethics committee then goes to a court hearing for the
Seems like
registration
issues with the
of
ethics
of
committee.
the ethics papers. But I'm not sure. Is that right? The court decides from the ethics committee, right?
Well, with the ethics committee issue, yes.
Yes.
Certainly a jurisdiction over the zoning hearing board, but the things with the ethics committee would probably be beyond that, as well as the role of constable, I would think would be beyond.
So we're kind of dealing with about 3 issues here.
Bruce, I'm fine. I just wanted to get it out there. Whatever you guys do with it, I'm done. It's out of my hands. I wanted to make it, I wanted to get it exposed.
Okay.
You've got media here, you got yourselves, do the right thing, that's all I ask.
Okay.
Anybody have any more questions, Steve? I'm leaving if not. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got no problems with you. Be good.
Anyone else? Comments by visitors? Yes. State your